apparently these CEOs have not gotten the message about what kind of shape we're in, even though they're asking for those bailouts. So Brian Ross is out again. Brian Ross is from ABC News, and, you know, he harkens back to the days of old journalists who would go chase down stories, and to the point where he's almost a little unfair, to be honest with you. And now we've covered 2 or 3 stories of Brian Ross where he's dogged, okay, adamant. But I would love it if journalism went back to this. Keep, you know, challenging people in power, make sure they got it right, go after them, go get them. That's what Brian Ross has done here with this GM story. Let's watch.
The man boarding this $36 million private luxury jet at the Detroit airport is the CEO of General Motors, Rick Wagoner, on his way to Washington to cry poor, to tell Congress that GM is burning through cash and will fail unless taxpayers bail out the auto industry with $10 to $12 billion for GM alone.
We want to continue to play the vital role we've played for America for the past 100 years, but right now, in today's circumstances, we can't do it alone.
As Wagoner testified, his G4 private jet was parked at Dulles Airport, one of 8 luxury jets in the GM fleet. Wagoner's private jet trip to Washington Tuesday morning cost GM an estimated $20,000 round trip. Northwest Airlines Flight 2364 left at 10:17 yesterday morning from Detroit for Washington, $288 coach round trip, $837 first class. Wagoner, who was paid almost $16 million last year, wasn't eager to talk about the private jet.
Mr. Wagoner, Brian Ross, ABC News. How are you? Question for you about your private jet. About the private jet you travel in. You say you're willing to make sacrifices. What about traveling in private jets? Why do you do
Absolutely limited.
You got your big jet parked here? Could you not have flown commercial? Sure.
Had other meetings early this morning in Detroit, actually.
And it's not just the GM CEO. This is Ford's CEO, Alan Mulally. As part of his employment contract with Ford, Mulally not only was paid $28 million last year, but he only travels on private jets, and his wife gets to travel that way too. Mulally was at the same hearing before Congress Tuesday, where he made the case for taxpayer billions by talking of expenses he's cut.
We have taken out that excess capacity that we talked about earlier, closing 17 plants and reducing our workforce by 51,000 employees.
Yet Ford continues to operate a fleet of 8 private jets for its executives. Mulally walked away when asked about the private luxury travel.
Are you prepared to sacrifice your private jet, sir?
Ford and GM say the decision for their CEOs to travel by private jets is a corporate decision, non-negotiable. They must travel that way, even as the companies say they're running out of cash.
The jury's in on Brian Ross. Brian, you go get the some of my bitches. Okay. Now, look, at one point he said, look, your big jet is parked here. Now, the journalism that we've been used to for so long, they would never say something like that because it seems a little, you know, pushing the envelope to be like, hey, he's not saying you flew in on a jet. He's saying your big jet's parked right here, big dog. Okay. But now, having said that, you see how he caught those guys off guard? They're like, oh, ABC News. That means they're going to be friendly to me. Oh, you're talking about my jet? Oh, geez, Lord mercy. And then they run for the hills, right? No, look, we got to get real journalism back in America, man. Challenge him. Go after him. Find me stories like this. If I was ABC News, I'd double his salary. And then I'd tell everybody, hey, I just doubled Brian Ross's salary. Anybody else interested in doing real journalism? Okay? Because look at what he just said there. That guy, the CEO of Ford, was bragging about, oh, no, we got our costs under control. I just fired 51,000 people. Laid off 51,000 workers. And then, the very next sentence, they have 8 private jets for their executives. And they say it is non-negotiable. Their executives need to travel by private jet. They need it. It's non-negotiable. Oh, your ass, we can fire your ass in a second, okay? But my private jet is non-negotiable. Rick Wagoner, the CEO of GM, made $16 million last year. Now they're talking about how the guy working at the plant is making too much money. No. Look, here's the thing. I'm willing to have that conversation. If I think the costs are out of line and it's hurting the competitiveness and they're not going to be able to compete with other car companies, I'm willing to have that conversation. But I'm not willing to have that conversation without also talking about making the $16 million that your CEO is making. Look, what's fair is fair. If we really need the money, if GM needs the money to be competitive, and they need it for, because they are having trouble, well, then I got to ask you, what are you doing making $16 million? We can use some of that money. Hey, the first thing I do is, hey, Rick Wagner, you come here, you ask for $25 billion from the American taxpayer. Here's what I'm going to give you at most, $25 million minus $16 million. Okay? Because you can't come here and beg me for money and then telling me you're going to put away $16 million. That's not how it works. Can't have it. Can't legislate with it. Can't give it away. Can't do it. Now, somebody who's caught on to that is Representative Gary Ackerman, Democrat of of New York, and he's got these guys in a hearing, and he makes an absolutely terrific point. Let him have it, Gary.
There's a delicious irony in seeing private luxury jets flying in to Washington, D.C., and people coming off of them with tin cups in their hand, saying that they're going to be trimming down and streamlining their businesses. It's almost like seeing the guys show up at the soup kitchen in high hat and tuxedo.
It's true. I mean, $20,000 to fly in, when, as Brian Ross's report showed, it could have gotten the ticket for $282. See, the thing is, they're so stinking rich that to them, they think $20,000, what are you making a big deal out of that for? But you don't understand. You make 2 of those trips, and that's somebody's salary for the year. For us, that's a huge deal. But he can't bring his ass into the airport to take that flight. I mean, look, if he took it first class, it's $800 some odd dollars. You saved over $19,000, right? And what did he say to Brian Ross? Well, I had a couple of meetings in Detroit this morning, too. That means he has to fly back quickly. I don't know if you know this, but there's a lot of flights between Detroit and Washington. There's a lot of flights all over the country. And some of them are really quick. They're so used to being fat and rich, and that they don't even, their mind doesn't even comprehend what it would mean for them to pinch their belt a little bit. They know what it means for you to pinch your belt. They'll lay your ass off in a second. But for them, our private jets are, quote, non-negotiable. Well, if you come to the unions and you come to labor and you come to the workers and you want to negotiate, I'm not having the discussion until you put your private jet and your salary on the frickin' table. They're now negotiable. And if you come to the United States Congress and ask for my money, oh, they're now negotiable, okay? And if you don't want to negotiate about it, get the hell out of here, okay? Because you ain't going to get my money. Not to use on your private jets. Hell no.